Today is officially the last day in Rhode Island. Then we're headed back home, headed back to base, headed back to HQ. And before I get into my kind of little more interesting shticks, damn. I mean, on the highway, it's like, well, no, highway, even you guys are a little crazy down here. I'm not totally certain. I'm not totally certain the turn signal is a nationally used, or maybe they're just not in the cars over here, but it's been pretty fucking wild. But getting into the actual lift and a little bit of a topic of conversation beforehand. Well, actually, now I kind of forget what I was going to say. So lift wise, chest, heavy pressing of some variety, which I kind of feel like is necessary. And not just for an arbitrary, like, oh, well, you got to do your heavy bench. Bro, well, you got to do your heavy bench. What do you mean? You're going to work out without doing heavy bench? Like, it's not just like for a fucking, like a matter of course. But in my lifts, at least, I mean, I've done them in all sorts of ways. I've had lifts where it's like all cable flies, like kind of lighter squeezing work. And I've had lifts that were all like heavier pressing, like maybe one set of flies at the end of it, just as like kind of like a pumpish sort of burnout set. And the right answer kind of lies in the middle. So that's a little bit of a situation where it's like, the meme where there's two guys arguing, and then the guy who's like chill and relaxed is the one who's not even in the argument because he knows both of them are wrong. So that's where I feel like that's how I feel a lot of the times. I'll see because I'm nosy. I mean, if I see a thread of comments on like an Instagram post where it's one guy going back and forth with the other, I'll probably read the whole thing. I'm a little bit interested in what these guys are fucking saying. But it's like I'll see the most nonsensical fucking arguments. And it's I mean it's I can understand why that would kind of happen. Everybody wants to know the right answer, everybody wants to have the right method, and even more than that, people love I don't mean just people on everybody loves to be able to tell somebody they're wrong. That's like a massive dopamine boost. And the fact that you can do it anonymously on your phone, I mean, let's just say criticism is running high. But, these guys I'll see videos where it's like, whoa, the basic premise of it is you would start a back day with an isolation movement like a pullover and then move on to rows? What is wrong with you? Or it's like, dude, are you, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say the R word there, but are you mentally impaired? Why would you ever do inclined barbell bench? It's proven to be inefficient for building your chest. You should do incline hammer strength press. The strength curve is much more congruent with hypertrophy. Both of these guys talking, 9 times out of 10, have barely lifted for 3 weeks straight, which is also the crazy part where I don't get too fed up, don't get too upset if you ever post something or say something or like you're writing comments and people kind of reply to you like, don't forget, 10%, 10% of everybody talking about fitness related things or making comments on a fitness post or anything else, 10% even have ever worked out at all, I think. And then maybe 3% are actually like legitimate lifters. They might have a reasonable amount of intel to kind of contribute to a good conversation. So don't, let's just say, don't take your lifting advice from a TikTok comment section. That's my that's my word of the wise there. But it's you know, it's such a safe take, but it really is just the right fucking answer. There is no answer. It's go hard, right? If I'm gonna do a chest day today, I know I want to do some sets which are a little bit on the heavier side. I'm talking some kind of really kind of higher tension pressing, which I feel kind of is going to add not only strength but also size. All right. And then I do probably want to finish off with something a little bit more squeezing focused. Once I've already been pre-exhausted, I'm already reasonably pumped. I can't even, I mean, in some cases, I can't even go back and do like a heavy incline barbell, even like fucking 2 plates if my chest is completely wrecked because my whole system is like so fucking fatigued. So fucking fatigued No, it doesn't even feel safe to hold the weight. It's so for chest at least, my basic framework has always been heavier pressing in the beginning and then transition into more squeezing, more controlled, and then cable sort of any flying movement at the end. That's kind of how my chest days have always looked, which I think is about right. But take that under the fucking context that I'm saying that about me and that I've been fucking doing chest days for years and I've kind of come to the answer that this works for me. So, I'm not going to dog on anybody if you've been making crazy chest gains. If you start with 3 sets of like pec deck and then move on to, like heavy incline Smith or something, you know, gains will speak for themselves. So as long as you're growing, you're doing something right. But it's when that growing ceases, it's when your progress halts, it's when your gains have now slowed down and you're plateaued. That's where you have to be able to look at yourself with a reasonable amount of humility to be able to say, okay, what I'm doing right now is not working. I need to change something. And then I need to look to 9 times out of 10, right? Kind of a lot of social media, kind of influencer workout advice, and see if I can find something that clicks. And if I can, then I'll try it, implement it, and then see if see if I like it. But if not, try something else. Back to the drawing board. You get the deal. Honestly, half of the craziest fucking inventions and discoveries were just people doing random shit and then finding out that it worked afterward. So don't think lifting is so much more complicated than really anything else. That it requires PhD knowledge and fucking years of study and like I'm a certified personal trainer. I know what I'm talking about. That's probably one of the least prestigious accolades that somebody could tell me if they're trying to validate their advice. But main point, if what you're doing is working, keep going. If it's not, talk to somebody who's got more gains than you, and odds are they at least have a different perspective, which can maybe give you some insight and a couple kind of tips. Because if anybody has gone from 180 pounds or fucking 160 pounds to 200 pounds, reasonably lean, that's somebody that knows how to fucking gain muscle for them at least. So even though everybody's going to be different, stimulation, genetics, diet wise, some guys are going to be able to eat food much more easier because or much more easily because they don't have like they just have a bigger appetite, little things like that. But talking to guys who have actually gone through the process, and even better guys who are a bit ahead of you, I think that is a fucking gold mine of potential information. And not necessarily because they're bigger, but because they've just gone through the process of getting there. So clearly they've been doing, I mean, you got to remember, if you see anybody that's like 200 pounds or higher, reasonably lean, impressive kind of build, gearhead or natural, that guy has been working out for a long time and he has been thinking about working out. Odds are hours upon hours a day. You know, I um I couldn't tell you exactly how long or how much time kind of mentally goes into thinking about my workouts, like dieting and everything else, or just when I'm like sitting around watching videos, it's got to be insane. I mean, at least, oh geez, I couldn't even tell you. It's got to be in the thousands of hours of time. So if there's other guys who are fucking meatheads who have gone through that same fucking process of like, okay, what should I'm gonna try this and try that. If you have a massive pool of fucking gorillas or monkeys typing at a keyboard, right, eventually somebody's gonna write some Shakespeare. And how I kind of relate that to this whole fucking community of working out is there's millions of people across the fucking world, and not only right now in this very moment, but for the past what? I mean, maybe 100 years or so, that the kind of concept of bodybuilding has been around, and even longer before that, and just generalized like sport sort of activities. So everybody's been trying their fucking ass off to get bigger biceps and get a fucking wider back and bigger chest. So a lot of the grunt work has already been solved. Right? Get your food down, sleep, stay hydrated, train hard, Right? That's the basics. And any little nuanced detail after that is almost up for you to discover for yourself and not for everyone else to already have the answer to hand to you. And I know that's not always the coolest thing to hear because, I mean, if somebody, like if I see a comment that says, Sam, what's the best way to build my biceps? Odds are that guy's going to be a little bit disappointed if I reply to the comment and I say, uh, go hard on some dumbbell curls, bro. you know, like you'd think I'd have a little bit more depth to it than that, but I mean, that's kind of it. Squeeze hard, make sure you get a pump. It's more of a long game situation there. But now I'm really just fucking rambling. Let me come out of this turn and we can get on our way to what's a good word? What's a good descriptor? A freakish chest pump. I think that's perfect. So I've got a little tip, which I've kind of started to implement enough where it actually feels good enough for me to want to kind of perpetuate it. And that's a good thing to say there. Because for the most part, everybody knows how to do a dumbbell curl. Everybody knows how to fucking keep your head up when you squat. Don't bend over and like around your back. But this is what I've been focusing on a lot. Be it a machine press, incline barbell, incline Smith machine. I think I've always had a habit of just, exactly like you saw. Lay down. I can feel that my shoulder blades are like outside the edge of the bench, and then grab whatever, start pressing. Whereas now I'm trying to totally isolate my chest, chill out with the front delta activation. So the difference here is instead of just laying down, starting, I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to tuck my shoulder blades in, right? Any power lifter worth his salt already knows this. And it's like, Sam, what are you, a fucking new beginner lifter? But for real, I'm trying to sit here, suck my shoulder blades in, and then press from here. And even just looking at myself in the mirror, I can tell how high my chest up or how high up my chest is here versus something like this, and how low my shoulders are. When I'm like this, so much fucking front delt. But if I suck back here, this is much more chest biasing, which if I want to work my chest, that's the fucking goal. So 3 plates and a 25 on the Smith. That's about right. Let's grab some music and get started with this thing. Let's drop it to 3 plates. That would have been a badass rep if I could have got the last one. But let's go a little lighter. Okay. Same shit. One more time. All right, let's move on. Oh my God. All right, so this is not going to be another crazy weight heavy kind of set. This one's actually going to be a little bit more methodical. It's going to take a little bit more thought. No, just like, okay, here's another rep. Okay, here's another one. A little different. So I kind of like a little bit of a, especially with lighter squeezing kind of sets. Like I probably, well, I'd probably like it, but you're not going to catch me do this on a really heavy press. Oh, stuff like this, leg extensions, some pullovers, sometimes curls, push downs. Sometimes I like doing little like pause reps, but not maybe in the way you think. So stretch position, go up to here, about halfway through the rep, totally pause all movement. You don't have to hold it here for like a whole second, but completely cease any movement. So you're no longer riding the momentum to the top of the rep. You know, if I just sat here with whatever weight and I got it moving, I don't really have to squeeze that hard in this last part. If it's already moving, as we all know, if something that's already moving wants to keep moving, you can kind of ride the momentum. So really launch it down here, a little momentum up there. If you do really slow reps, you're not gonna have to worry about that. But just kind of to change it up, I like this additional like manual contraction at the center of the rep with this style of set. And like every time I say something like this, it's not because this is fancy or like magic or like, oh, this is gonna manually contract my slow twitch fibers more than, it's just different. It's gonna burn. I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna be a little bit more pumped after than I was before. And when I move on to whatever I decide is the next movement, I'm gonna gradually get more and more fatigued until I feel like the workout's over. Okay. Would you do one more if you were me? There we go. Little Five Nights at Freddy's angle with that one. But same thing, just a little bit heavier. Yeah. 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 Okay. Wow. Let's move on. Getting close to the end. Let's do some let's do some kind of cable press. And what I like about a cable press sometimes, these cables are starting way out here, but when I finish the rep, my hands are going to be together. So not only did I push the weight away from me, but also towards itself. So it's kind of combining the pressing of a press with the squeezing of a fly. I love little combinations like that. Yeah. All right. I think that's the end of things. Oh, damn. So chest complete, pumped, stretched, squeezed, fatigued, every other positive connotation buzzword under the sun, lift wise. So now all I get to do is fucking unveil rather, this fucking chest pump underneath. So usually I would say douchebag move, middle of the gym pose down. But there's like fucking 3 dudes in here and we're all kind of chatting, so I think it's all right. But be mindful of your location. If you're in a fully stocked Planet Fitness and behind you is 10 regular gym goers, not like fucking bodybuilder nuts, maybe don't drop your drawers and lose the shirt and do like a full on pose down. But something like this, I don't think I'm stirring up any waters. So let's run through a couple here. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh my god. It is fucking hard to reach back for a double buy shot, especially when my chest is fully pumped. But that's a reasonable amount of fucking blood flow. I think I've only got one more responsibility for the night, and that's to fucking chow down. So let's get in the car and hop to it. All right, chest complete. And I didn't realize this till just now, but this is the last fucking car talk in the Stang. This is just a fucking rental, man. This goes back. It's kind of cool, but I mean, don't worry. The Camry's not going fucking anywhere. Old faithful. Old fucking faithful. But one thing I think is worth mentioning, man, if you guys run into me in the wild, especially like at a gym, I mean, that's really my fucking natural element. Dude, I'm here to chat. You know, I'm going to do my lift as well. I got to get my sets in, of course. Nothing's going to stop that. But in between, dude, in between and after, I'm all for some fucking banter. Not only do I want to potentially spread some knowledge, but get some back in return. You know, if you know a fancy pants kind of tricep movement that you don't think I've ever done, preach it like the fucking gospel. But what kind of sucks is, you know, anytime I'm kind of traveling anywhere, like go to a different gym, and the gym is like really fucking packed and kind of crowded, then you're not gonna really gonna be able to give you the attention you deserve, you know. But this week was really nice for me, especially this gym. Whole new fucking crowd of characters, and there was only ever like fucking 5 dudes in there at once. So that's fucking primary. That's some prime time. Had some nice little post lift chats, especially with a group of guys who all work at the same, or at least I think they all work at one of the same supplement stores. I forget the name of it, but They were pretty cool. It's fun to talk to guys, especially who've really been through it fitness wise. There's kind of a certain amount of just I don't even want to say lingo, just kind of like an understanding. If somebody's been involved in fitness at a slightly higher level than just like working out for a couple years, but like, has seen like bodybuilding shows, like different kind of events and stuff, they kind of have they've got a different view on things. So they can see the big picture in a sense, and it's kind of fun to fucking talk about. I'm not sure I can really kind of portray what that's like, but all I'm trying to get at there is there's a very good ratio of characters to conversation this past week. But back to baseline, back to the regular routine, and back to well, I say back to. I haven't been off my game on my fucking you know, path towards becoming a 280 pounder. I stepped on the scale today, but I had shoes on, I had my clothes on, and I had like hat everything. Plus, I've eaten food today, so that doesn't really count. But I hopped on the scale, and the scale might have also been wrong. But it said it was 280, but that is definitely not the case, and that is definitely not the case morning weight either. Weighing yourself. Oh, I mean, weighing yourself with clothes on, weighing yourself after you've already eaten meals and drank water, it's just not accurate. So morning weight is to be determined. Actually, I'm not going to be home until tomorrow night, so that means a couple days. But I estimate I'm rocking about 260-ish morning weight, 261. So we're in the thick of it. We're in the thick of it now. We got to maintain this steady progression and continue depositing pounds evenly across this fucking build. So, oh gosh, by now, home and some kind of food. I'm not exactly sure. I've got yeah, actually, I've got a pound of New York strip. I don't want to let it go to waste. So maybe I'll just have half a pound as soon as I get back, and then the other half maybe like an hour later or so. I'm not one to say like, oh, if you eat more than 50 grams of protein within a 2 hour period, you're not gonna be able to digest it. I don't think it's that stringent, but it is going to be a little bit better of a scenario, I feel, to have evenly distributed meals throughout the day. And that's whether you're bulking up or cutting down. Because in both cases, if you kind of wrap your mind around it, it is going to make it easier on you. If you're trying to bulk up, would it not make sense that you want a steady intake so that you're never like insanely fucking like distended from having a crazy massive meal? And then odds are you're probably going to be extra fucking sleepy from slamming so many fucking calories all at once. And then your rhythm's kind of out of whack. And if you're dieting down, what you're gonna like starve yourself all day and then have a massive meal at the end of the night, or vice versa, have a big meal in the morning and eat nothing for the rest of the day. Now that's taking it to the extreme, but that's a good way to kind of determine where you stand on certain arguments. I think the evenly sized meal, period it out by however many hours, that's the way to go. That is the way to go. So, what's oh shit, yeah. So, how many of you guys are actually starting up school again now, huh? I know there's a big chunk of you that are. I think it's about even. I look at the analytics. I think it's just about even. The viewership looks as such. It's about 30% 18 to 25, 30% below 18, and then 30% above 25. I'm always thinking about those like the demographics when I look at the analytics of who's watching these videos, because it kind of helps me sort of target little tidbits of whatever towards specific ones here. So now I'm talking to that 25 and below group. Man, you guys were just unsupervised for the majority of your day. At least, any of you who are extra spoiled who had like a legitimate summer off. If you were working, then it's a little bit different. But I'm going to say there's probably a reasonably sized group of you guys where your schedule has just now thickened up. I think that's fair to say because you got to get your studies, man. You got to get your homework done. You got to do your projects. You got to write your essays, and that could be a little bit of a barrier to entry of the grind when it comes to the fitness side of things. And I've been there. I've uh, I've stayed up late, hmm, having procrastinated certain, you know, homework assignments and projects, or just straight up cramming for an exam. I had no fucking idea what was on, like, 3 days prior, little like, random things like that, which I think could this issue could totally be fixed just by being a responsible student. But if that's you, try not to let that throw your routine off. Now, if you're a little bit more on the casual side of lifting, and I'm not dogging on you for that, that's not a rip. But if you just work out, eat whatever, that's kind of your that's what you're kind of doing consistently. Try not to miss your lifts. Don't go too long without going in. But for any of you guys who are really trying to get into bulking up, let's say summer vacation is over. You're no longer trying to run around with your shirt off and impress all the girls. You want to get a little bit bigger, so you don't mind putting on some body fat. If that's you, then try not to miss your meals. And it depends on how serious you are about it. But I can tell you from experience, it's a chore to actually get meals in on a consistent basis. Because if you're eating enough food to gain weight, then you're eating enough food to fucking be a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm not talking like force feeding. I just mean it's like you got a fucking Tamagotchi on your hip that's beeping all the time. That's you with your meals. It's like you got to eat a big ass breakfast. You got to eat a big ass brunch. You got to eat a reasonably sized like it's kind of always a thing. So that's where you should try to stay ahead of it as much as possible. And that can be done in a few ways. Have some maybe go to a meal prep company, buy some meals on a certain routine. I've tried a couple of those. It's nice. It's good to have some fucking shit right there in the fridge, totally pre-made for you. A little bit more on the expensive side though. Like some of those things are like getting to the point where it's $8 a meal, which whatever. I mean, if you go out to eat, you're paying fucking 30 minimum. But if you're buying like 20 of these things, or you're doing like a monthly kind of situation, it's going to add up a little bit, so something to consider. So I haven't really locked into that yet. Who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be saying some shit like, guys, this is my favorite Scooby Doo meal prep company. If I liked it, I could see something like that. But hasn't really been my style so far. I kind of like having food at my disposal to be consumed at my discretion. So that's where I kind of like having meals semi prepped, right? Having food that's very readily preparable in the kitchen, such that, whenever it comes time for a meal, or whenever it comes time for, I don't know, let's just say I know I'm going to be away from the house for like 3 hours or 4 hours or how many hours, long enough where if I don't eat, that's going to kind of throw off my whole day. Then that's where I'm going to say, all right, let's get ready for this. Let's be a little bit smarter. Let's just not pack nothing. Let's just not pack nothing. Let's pack something so I've got something to eat. Not going to throw off my kind of calorie intake routine. So that's where I like some instant rice. I uh I like some of the like it's like Ben's original, just little rice packs, and they're flavored too. They're like cheddar broccoli. They're all sorts of everything. Like you can get sesame, whatever. A little bit higher on the fat side of things than I would like. I'm trying to chill out on my fat intake and really prioritize my carb intake as the primary like variable in my calories. But little things like that. Having instead of just making 1 pound of ground beef at once, maybe make three, leave it in a big ass Tupperware, scoop it out as necessary. Little things like that. And the more of those that you can do, the easier it's going to be to fucking maintain your calorie intake. If you look in your fridge and there's nothing there, then what are you going to do? If you're not that kind of if you're not that motivated to like, cook a massive meal, that's kind of going to turn you off from sitting there and slamming something. Whereas if you've got everything kind of right there and all you have to do is slap it onto a plate and slam it, makes it a little bit easier. But all that is just to say, if you know you're about to get a little bit busier, try to get ahead of schedule and plan for success rather than trying to adjust for, kind of falling off. Because the last thing you want to do is start trying to play catch up when it comes to calorie intake. If you're sitting here and you've got fucking, you got 2,000 calories left for the day, and it's, now, let's say it's now 11 o'clock at night. Guess what? What are the odds that you're actually going to get those 2,000 calories in? Slim to none. And I've fucking been there. And on the other side of the spectrum, you're still screwed because if you do stay up late enough to actually eat all that food, I mean, I guess if you can just slam it in 1 second, whatever, but odds are whatever meal you can slam in 1 second that's 2,000 calories is probably just going to wreck your insides. And not in like oh, it's too much sugar. Like just having that much food at once, just a little pushy. But what I'm saying there is if you're at a point where you're trying to play catch up with your calorie intake, then you've already failed. Because for one, you're going to go to sleep and not hit your calories. And even if you do stay up a little bit late enough to get the food in, then your sleep is screwed. You're going to wake up and not be very hungry for your breakfast because you just had a bunch of food before you went to bed. It's just kind of, you got to stay ahead of these kind of things. And nobody's going to hold you to it. I guess if you, well, that's not totally true. You could pay a coach. You could find you could go online and try to find a reputable coach who can actually keep up with your routine and you're giving them updates and stuff. But apart from that, and even then, you're the one who wants to do it by going through that process. But for the most part, nobody's going to hold you accountable. Trying to get ahead of it on your own. And don't be, well, actually, I don't know. Fitness is getting mainstream enough now where I don't see anybody getting dogged on for like eating chicken and rice. I remember I didn't do myself any favors either. I looked like a total creep. I brought a dozen boiled egg whites to school for lunch on like repeat occasion. This was not just once. This was like on the regular. It was yeah, no yolks, but just fucking 12 of them. Well, I was about to say I don't know what I was thinking, but I actually do know what I was thinking. I was like, I want some solid fucking protein. Boiled eggs, badass, come on. And there is a little bit of a, there's the badass factor, which I've definitely used historically to make myself get extra amped up and excited. And what I mean by that is, if you do something that makes you feel cool, odds are you're going to be a little bit more fucking excited about it and keep doing it. So if something's a little bit uncomfortable and not like crazy enjoyable, try to implement the badass factor. If you're not excited to do your cardio, listen to a David Goggins edit. Like, man, I am that motherfucker. Get up to your cardio. If you're not crazy excited about slamming a meal that's sitting in front of you, fuck, man. I've played some anime hype edits that I've saved on my TikTok, and I'm scrolling through them while I'm eating because I'm like, all right, if I really want to get big, this is how I do it right here. Like, I'm getting fucking hyped up to eat my oatmeal and ground beef. It's it's definitely not conventionally normal, but trying to put on a ton of fucking muscle on your frame, I wouldn't say it's the furthest thing from it, but not everybody's crazy interested in that. Not that they need to be either. So I think I'm just rambling at this point. Let's get to the chase. Go hard, sleep hard, eat a ton of food, get your rest. I think I already said that. Do that on repeat indefinitely, and then you're gonna be able to look at yourself in the mirror and go, whoosh, yeah, bass. And that's what we're all chasing at the end of the day. At least if you're watching this video. So I'll see you tomorrow for something. I'll see you tomorrow for something. I'm not totally sure. It's not just going to be a back. Well, actually, it's not going to be a back day for sure because I don't need to hit back anymore. At least not for a little bit. Not forever, but not for a little bit. So forearms, calves, and and something else. Forearms, calves, and something else. I can say that with fucking certainty. So I'll see you then, man. Goodbye, Rhode Island.